You got this. And beyond the physical changes that they see, you really see the mental changes. They're happier, they feel better. Maybe now they're going to wear a sleeveless shirt when they wouldn't have before.
Today, it's your birthday. Not sure what that means? Let us introduce you to this powerful concept in our community. We're Helene Christina, and our mission is to empower, teach, and to remind women to celebrate themselves. Combined, we have over 35 years' experience as therapists in private practice. We come to you not as therapists, but rather two women in this life stage with you. Our podcast promises to talk about the hard and uncomfortable topics in a way to empower you, laugh along the way as part of healing, and find joy, Christina's word of the year, in life. What sets us apart, you might ask? We leave you with gifts each and every episode.
So now that we are friends, let's go ahead and make this official. We would love to help you start your Thursday morning, so make sure you follow the show wherever you listen and sign up for our free newsletter at yourbirthdaypodcast.com to receive the episode in your inbox weekly.
We are thrilled that you have joined. Several weeks back on episode 41, we talked about the gifts from loving your body. The feedback was so great that we decided to have one more discussion about taking care of your body. We invited Jamie Rhodes to join us today to talk about the gifts from strength training. If hearing this created an oomph, we got you, friends. All three of us. Jamie is a certified personal trainer of 15 years from the National Academy of Sports Medicine. She completed level 1 in precision nutrition, and she has a bachelor's of science in business management. And overall, she is just an incredible human. I know Jamie from the gym, and I can attest to absolutely that is who she is. And that's why we brought her to this community and to this discussion.
But before we dive in, we have to make the legal gods happy. So the information shared in this episode is for educational purposes and informational purposes only. It is not intended as to be medical advice or a substitute for professional guidance from your doctor, physical therapist, or other qualified healthcare professional. Always consult with your healthcare professionals before starting any new exercise or making changes to your fitness routine. These opinions are generated by our guest on their own.
Okay, now that hopefully everyone is happy out there, we've done all the dotting of the I's and crossing out the T's. Let's get started. I know. We're like, we got to make sure we do everything right. Christine and I are rule followers. So if you've been hanging out with us, you know we are, and we absolutely had to protect Jamie in this. So let's get this conversation started. Hi, Jamie. Thanks for coming on. You're gonna
Hi, thank you for having me.
Yay! I know you're going to answer some really great questions. And I know you're going to cheerlead our listeners if they've been hesitant or overwhelmed with the idea of strength training. But before we dive in, tell us all about you. What got your heart passionate about the world of fitness, and how'd you become you? Because I have to tell you, if anyone here is listening and you go to Capital Fitness, I mean, everyone there is great, but at least for me, like it truly was Jamie who stole the show and made me feel really comfortable there.
Oh, thank you, Helene. So I started working out at a gym when I was 21. It was in a plaza where I was working. So I would pack my bag and I would just go after work every day. And I continued that for the next 20 years. And one of my coworkers had said, you should be a personal trainer. And it started getting my brain thinking. And so I decided to get certified with the intention of it being a side gig. And it turned into a full-time gig. And it's honestly been the best thing ever. I love it. I'm so passionate about it. It's just been really, really great.
That's awesome. I think it's so important to find what we're meant to do in this world and the change and gifts we're meant to give the world. So I love that. We are just going to dig right in. What are some of those common myths that you hear about strength training, especially from beginners?
Well, from beginners, maybe it's too difficult. They think they can't do it, which is absolutely untrue. Anybody can do anything. Maybe it takes too long to see results, What I do hear a lot when it comes to lifting weights is they don't want to get too bulky. And that's probably one of the biggest myths. That's not going to happen. So the other thing is the cardio junkies. Oh, I think I'm going to get better results with cardio. And then they neglect that whole resistance aspect that's becomes a little bit more important.
Sure. That makes a lot of sense. I was sharing with Jamie before we logged on that I remember one of the times I was in a gym and I was working with a personal trainer and I was like, I don't want to do any weights. Like, I don't want to get bulky. And fortunately, like all the research coming out right now about exercise is all about strength training and building those muscles. And the longevity of life when we do that is powerful. And, if we want to live a long, healthy life, strength training is where it's at.
Absolutely.
So I love that.
And what we shared in the beginning is that we love giving gifts. And I just want to go back to a moment. Jamie said to all of us, she truly believes anyone could do anything they put their mind to. And that was a mic drop gift moment. So I want to say thank you. I'm really
You're
swelled.
welcome.
For sure.
So, Jamie, if someone is intimidated by the gym or lifting weights, what do you find that helps that person to either break through, like whether it's fear, whether it's a mindset, whether it's noise from the background? Like,
Mm.
how would you help them break through that so they can get in to doing all this great stuff for their body? And what research, like Christina shared with us, is where it's at right now.
Well, what this is what's great about Capital Fitness. We're a community of people. Every member here is so great. They welcome new people in with open arms. There are so many members that have become friends just from the gym. Group of girls all get together, they go out, they have a great time. So first of all, just making that person feel welcome when they come in the door. And it's a supportive environment that we create. Absolutely no judgment. We have all ages here, we have all levels here, and everybody's very encouraging. The fittest person at 25 to the 75-year-old man that, it feels like he struggles but does a great job.
Oh, that's
So for our listeners that aren't local, right? Because we have listeners from all over the world, which is like super exciting.
Yeah.
Can you speak to that person also, in addition, who is having some of their own fear or some of those mental roadblocks to help them get through? If they don't have something near them, like what we have the luxury of having right here, what would you, if you spoke to them, what would you maybe gift them or help them to get through some of that?
Well, I mean, it's all about self love, right? So we have to talk positive to ourselves. We have to keep reminding ourselves that we can do it. Start with baby steps, start small, start creating a habit, and then you'll start building that confidence and being able to get over those roadblocks so that you can be your best healthy self.
I love that. Wow. Yeah, I think, people do get in their head. And I remember my trainer saying to me, like, what is the fear that's keeping you from doing this? And I was like, I don't want to get hurt. And she's like, you won't. That's why I'm here.
Right.
Right. And
So we
so
were-
that's what I love
yeah.
about it. I'm going to take us off track for just a second because you said something super powerful, and that's the positive community. I think gyms often get a bad rap of just being judgmental or critical or people like judging you, that kind of thing. What are some things for our audience that aren't in Fort Myers that would be signs for them to look at that they would be walking into a gym that's a positive atmosphere,
Ooh, I
such
love
as
that.
Capital Fitness?
When you walk in the front door, being greeted with a smile on your face, giving a tour, just showing the place around and asking them what their goals are, what do they want to achieve, just trying to feel them out and get them to bring out, their positive or what they want and just treating them very kindly. And that's
Is
about
there
that.
anything that you would say they could look at when they're seeing other people like working out in there, or kind of some signs that subtle signs that it's a positive atmosphere?
Pretty much, I'm going to be speaking from here. Most people don't really pay attention to what everybody else is doing. And you point that out. They're so focused on their own exercise We have timed workouts, so there isn't a lot of time for people to be looking around to see what somebody else is doing. So that helps a lot. And as I said, I always try to introduce people to all the members as they're there, and they're just so welcoming. And they'll say, "Okay, come be in our group." And that right there just starts to make someone feel comfortable.
Yeah, feel like they belong. That's huge.
Yes, for sure.
I was going to say that I think the great thing about what you said, Christina, is, and what Jamie like kind of walked us through, is that if you're making the dedication, the commitment to finally explore and taking care of your body from a strength building perspective, and whether that's with a gym or with a trainer, that you have Christina always talk about like you have agency over yourself. You have agency over yourself to go in and interview the place, go
Mhm.
in with questions. You are essentially hiring them to provide a service or a relationship, or like what Jamie was saying, Capital Fitness does, a community. So
Mhm.
go in kind of with that authority perspective that you can interview them. They will hopefully have questions for you. Like Christina said, like your goals, what are you wanting to get out of it? But maybe knowing that it's going to maybe start as a business relationship with the hope that it blends into community and maybe connection and friendship can also dissipate some of that fear.
Absolutely, for
Yeah,
sure.
that's huge. As we all know, life can be super crazy in certain areas of our life, depending on the season. And people have times where they're hyper motivated. We mostly see this with New Year's resolutions and other times. And then we can see it fade. How do you help clients to stay motivated, keep going? And what tips would you offer your clients to keep themselves motivated?
So I am very good about reaching out to people. If I don't see you for a few days, you're going to get
Yeah.
a text message from me, just checking in
In
on
a very
you.
loving way. It is not, yes.
No, I hear
Yeah.
people say thank you so much for
Yes.
doing that. So that's, that's real big. It shows you're thinking about them outside
Mm.
of the gym. And that's a way I can kind of get them back in. Sometimes I can see maybe their mood or how they're working out doesn't seem they have that pep in their step. So just going up and talking to them and getting it out of them. And then just that in of itself perks them back up and gets them, all right, thank you for that. I need to get myself back into doing this. As far as motivating themselves, if it's somebody who's been here for a while and they've, say, done a challenge before, hey, go back to this day and take a look at your results. Look at what you accomplished in this short amount of time. That is very motivating right there. And that's like,
Mhm.
okay, I can get back to this spot or this attitude or this mentality because I want to see those results again. And then that
Mhm.
motivation starts coming. Action is what creates motivation. So it's all about if they aren't showing up to the gym, all right, let's make that step to just get back into the gym.
I love that. I love that. What are some things that you guys do with your clients to keep them motivated within Capital Fitness? I mean, I have a lot of friends who go to your gym, Helene included, and I know that you guys have some really cool tools to show people their bodies developing.
Yes, yes. We have a 3D body scanner, and they can do that at the start of their journey, set some time for them to, be consistent in their workouts, work on their nutrition, and then we can scan them again at the end. And some of the results we see are just amazing. We also offer challenges throughout the year, and that really gets people back in the game because it's a challenge. You can win prizes at the end. It's a 6 week commitment. It's only 6 weeks, too, if you look at it like that. And a lot of people jump in on those and they see some really great results, and that definitely gets them motivated again.
That's awesome.
I think some of the other great things that you said that really is going to relate with a lot of our past episodes is that what you do is you bring the human component, not only in the relationship that you see visibility and you like watch people and you check in, but you invite people if they're maybe having a stuck moment to go back to a place within themselves where they felt more successful in quotes or where they felt more in their game. And you invite them to go back to that version of them, whether it was a week ago, a month ago, a year ago, and get reconnection with them to feel that spark, to feel what it was alive, to feel that alive, that strength, that
Right.
dedication, that commitment. And that I
Yes.
really love.
That's really cool.
Okay, so we're going to go back to the questions now that we really both took you off. What mindset shifts do you see in clients when they stick with strength training long term? So we talked about like they might come in with either some fear, hesitation, projecting of what may happen, even though the research and science doesn't show that. But when they stick with it, what happens to maybe some of those myths and what's some of the new shifts of beliefs that you see in those people?
Well, first of all, you start to see their confidence change. This could be somebody who you could feel the fear when they walk in the door, and now there's like pep in their step. They're talking to everybody, they're dancing in between, classes and stuff. They also start encouraging others. Here they were the intimidated one, and now they see this new person walk in the door, and now they're like, you can do it, you got this. And beyond the physical changes that they see, you really see the mental changes. They're happier, they feel better. Maybe now they're gonna wear a sleeveless shirt when they wouldn't have before.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
When you initially said sometimes you'll see people walk in with fear, what is it that you notice? Because I want not to like give like a black and white image of what that person is, but if any of our listeners can identify with that,
Yeah,
like this is what you might be looking like right now. But the thing is that it's just this moment that you see the fear. What Jamie
mhm.
is really, she's passing the baton that it's going to change and shift. But what do you typically see when you said, if I see people walk in with fear?
So you kind of can see it in their eyes, the little intimidation. They're talking kind of fast sometimes, I notice. Once they look around, they're just kind of looking at everybody else. And then once you start talking with them and people start walking in the door and I introduce them, that gets relaxed. And we also have pictures on the wall, so that's always motivating. Hey, take a look at, you know, this person that did a challenge, look at these amazing results. And there's, like I said before, all ages. We got the 30, we got all the way up into the 70s, and it's changed a lot of people's lives.
That is so cool. It sounds to me like it's kind of like one of my favorite phrases I love to say to clients when they first walk in and after they finish their intake session in therapy is the hardest thing you do in therapy sometimes is walking in the door. And, it sounds like the hardest thing of working out sometimes is walking in the door and taking that first step to say, I need this for my body. I need this for my
Absolutely.
mind.
Absolutely.
I love that. So, friends, if you're out there and you're on the fence, like just walk in.
Mm.
Just walk in. Get a feel for it. Trust yourself. If you're in Fort Myers, wander over to Capitol Fitness, walk in. Jamie's going to be there with her beautiful smile, ready to
That's
greet
right.
you and encourage you. So that's awesome. I feel like you already, in a lot of ways, answered this, but I'm hoping that you'll expand even more. In what ways does strength training build more than muscle?
So when you come and you start on a program, it requires a commitment.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, you have to show up and then you have to be persistent with it. So then you're pushing through the challenge of the workout. Okay, is it time for me to go heavier? Yes, I can do this. And now you're having to get into that mindset of I can do this and you're pushing yourself. So it's creating that discipline. Once again, that confidence, the excitement on people's faces when they've gone up in a weight is exciting to see. And then they become proud of themselves as well.
Can you clarify what you mean about going up in a weight? Because I think most women would think not what you're intending.
You're absolutely right. I say that sometimes and I'm like, I don't mean I'm talking about your way. I'm talking about the dumbbells
Right.
going up in your dumbbell weight.
Yeah, we don't want to scare them away.
No, 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 no. That means increasing the amount of pounds that you are lifting to build that muscle, to burn that fat, to lean out.
Right. I love that.
So again, we go back to Christina and I love to sprinkling gifts throughout the episode. If you have seen this, and maybe I'll ask you to like in the Rolodex of your brain, Have you seen people experience some unexpected gifts, either personally or professionally, that came through they built their relationship with strength training?
Oh, that's a tough one. I have seen so much. I've seen so many results, mostly with somebody's in an unhappy relationship, and then they go and they do this for themselves. I've seen that, and that's great. I think it maybe surprises them, and then it turns into obviously a positive thing.
That is awesome.
That is
Yeah.
awesome.
What are some of the things that you've seen when people have done the strength training program and have confidence as far as professional, how it's changed them or evolved them?
Hmm.
Like, have you seen career changes or somebody applying for a position that maybe they didn't feel comfortable because they didn't feel comfortable in their skin, anything like that?
Honestly, I have not come across that. I keep it more, within the realm of what we do together.
Personal relationships.
Yeah.
That's
Hmm.
awesome. That is so cool. Have you ever seen strength training change someone's life that even surprised you? Like maybe when you came in, you toured with them, like you expected them to do well, but they kind of blew you out of the water. And if so, obviously without sharing their personal information, tell us about it.
Yeah. I wouldn't say that it necessarily surprises me because it might surprise them more so that they can do it. I know they can do it and I've seen it, but I would say more amazes me at some of the results these people have done. You know, we just did a 6-week challenge, and a couple of men in the challenge were in their 70s, and they both placed sixth. They tied for sixth because and it wasn't the total weight that they lost, it was the body fat that they lost, but then at that age, they were still putting on lean mass.
Mm-hmm.
And that blows your mind away when you think of, and then this can happen with women. We had another woman in her 70s also put on an amazing amount of muscle mass, and it is mind-blowing. It's great.
Wow. And when you think of like how they're changing their entire body outlook and
Mhm.
future is really incredible. It's
Yes,
something that literally can be done at any age.
it absolutely can.
Yeah. And if you're younger, that doesn't mean wait till then.
Right.
But if you're older, it doesn't mean, give up hope.
No, you can still start now.
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever find, no, I'm taking us off track. Do you ever find that, like, often I will hear, like, women be like, oh, it's just not fair. Like, men will drop weight so much quicker. They'll have results much more quicker than I will. Do you ever find some of that, not negative, but maybe that blinding mindset prevents or gets in the way of seeing? And then you get to do that big educational piece by showing them either by the pictures, making them aware of what can happen. Like, do people come in with some of those?
Oh, for sure, for sure. That happens a lot. Women all day long will unfortunately just say it's not fair. My husband lost this much, and I'm here, but and there's no comparison there. There just is not. We are different, you know,
Mhm.
body types, period. So, just having that conversation and reassuring them that they'll get there, they'll get to their goals, as long as you comply, that you can achieve that.
I think, as much as we are constantly pushing and we need to continue pushing as women for equality and stuff like that, there's a lot of times with physicality that it isn't equal, it's different. And different doesn't make one worse or better, it's just different.
Right.
And so, yeah, I mean, my husband is on the thinner side of life. And the other day he was like sick for a hot 24 and he's like, oh, 8 pounds came off the scale. And I was like, are you sure we're on the same scale? Like, that's what I said to him. And he starts laughing at me. And I was like, I hope you're eating a lot of ice cream to put that back on. So I was like so mad at him. So I love that. But yes. And then I went on the scale. I was like, oh, maybe it'll be lower for me too. I didn't have the same, but I also didn't get sick. So there you go.
Yeah, there you go.
Right. Oh, that's so funny.
So going back to the gifts, if someone in our audience, again, in their brain, they've been looking, they've been scrolling, they've been viewing, they've been driving by, right? It takes people like over 7 times to look at something before they finally start to either like purchase, to buy, or to do.
Mhm.
Talk to them about the gifts of like how would you give them to just start if they're really overwhelmed? Like, can you give them like a few couple of actionable steps to get through the overwhelmed of how do I start? When do I start? What does that look like? All the things that they're going to pause or freeze that they can just keep going because they're already thinking about it.
Yeah. The first step is just showing up, period. Walk in the door. As you said, for, the scariest part going to the therapist is walking in the door, whatever. But then take it day by day. Small baby steps. Go at your own pace. Don't worry about what anybody around you is thinking. And, just start slow. Maybe you're not going to commit to 5 days a week. Maybe you commit to two to start, and then you can increase it from there. And yeah, just start slow. But remember, action is what equals motivation. So getting in that door and then hitting that next step.
I love that. I'm going to kind of tail off what Helene said. What about the person that's like a huge cardio junkie? Like I've always been a cardio junkie. I love a good hard workout that I can finish in, no time flat because my schedule is so packed. How would you help them understand the benefit of strength and balance? Because I think
Hmm.
when you become a cardio junkie, you struggle with balance.
Hmm. For sure. For sure. What I try to explain is, so you would think about when you're doing cardio, right? You're burning calories, sure. When you run out of that source, now you're going to start eating your muscle. That's the last thing you want, right? Because your body needs something. So sometimes what we'll see in our scans is their results are opposite, but they've worked so hard, they've done this, they did doubles, they did that. And unfortunately, they're doing a little too much of that extra workout. They're not, eating the right amounts of food, and it goes the opposite way. So when you strength train, you put on muscle, right? The more muscle we have in our body, the more that we're going to burn at rest. Okay. And that's where you're going to eat the fat, building that muscle and decreasing that body fat. So, yes, you need a healthy balance. I agree of the cardio and the strength training, but I would say more time spent strength training, and the cardio doesn't have to be all out, get out. It can just be going for a nice brisk walk. Even if you were broke it up throughout your day, 10 minutes here, 5 minutes there.
Oof. It's a change of mindset, isn't it?
Sure.
It
Sure.
totally is. I
And I
love
love
it.
how you said you're burning fat when you rest, right?
Yeah.
And that's a gift right there. If you're strength training, if I heard you correctly, you're burning fat when you rest. So that's like the cherry on top. Like go big, go home. And when you're resting, you're still getting benefit.
Correct.
That's so
Yes.
cool. Okay. One more gift before we leave. Is there kind of a small but powerful strength training habit that people could add to their week that you think makes a big difference?
I think push ups and a plank. Granted, it's not lifting weights, but it's something you can do at home. It's something it's so exciting to me when I see somebody come in and they can barely do one. And within a few weeks, they're over there doing 10. And you can do that at home. You can practice during the week. And then as far as just holding a plank, once again, somebody can come in and do it for 5 seconds. Before you know it, they're at a minute. And that's just taking it a little bit, maybe 3 times a week or even 5 times a week, just starting small and then increasing that number.
I love that. I always remind our members that I am like that middle aged woman who loves memes. And I literally just sent to my best friend the other night, anybody who thinks 3 seconds is a short period has never done a plank.
That's right.
Right?
That's
Whenever
true.
they're like 3 more seconds and I'm like shaking and I'm like, 3 more? What? Right? But you can do it. And then, I love what you said in the beginning. Like it's mind over matter. Like you can do it. And one of the things that I love about my trainer is she says, you can do anything for 10 seconds. You can do
Right.
anything for 20 seconds.
Right.
And then next thing you know, like you just said, you're hitting that minute. And that is such a powerful, like, celebration goal, right? Confetti,
Absolutely.
everything of going, wow, what our bodies are genuinely capable of is really incredible.
It very much is. Yes.
And if you're someone like me, Christine's gonna laugh. She's gonna be like, of course Helene was gonna say this. Like, if you're that visual person, like keep a log of it. Like if you're saying on Monday and I put on that timer, you can only last 3 seconds, do that. Go Wednesday, see how many seconds. And the more you write it down, then you look at it, you're gonna see the progression. And sometimes just having that visual reminder of where you were versus where you're at is gonna
Yeah.
increase that motivation and that confidence and that, hell yeah, I did it.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
it's gonna be right there in black and white.
Absolutely. No, that's a great way.
I think also just people understanding that as in life, like we have days that our workouts are really freaking phenomenal and days that they're kind of sub average, right? You know, whether it be because we didn't drink enough water or, you know, we just didn't get enough sleep or we're just having a stressful day. It's okay. Just because you had a rough workout doesn't mean the next 10 are going to be rough.
Absolutely. And it was just to touch off of that, maybe you're not feeling it, just whatever, but instead of not going, show up and put 50% into it because that's where you're just going to maintain that discipline and that consistency. All right. Like you said, you're not always going to have that feeling. Maybe the next day is going to be phenomenal, but you showed up and you kept that momentum going.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Oh my gosh, so many awesome gifts in this episode of just overcoming blocking beliefs and really focusing on not only our mental health but our physical health. And you know, we have been taught to like dissect the body into sections, and the body at the end of the day is still one whole unit, and mind and body are so connected.
For sure.
And I love that. And so, you know, one of the ways to take care of your mind is to take care of your strength.
Yes.
I love
Such
it.
a gift.
The way to take care of your body is take care of your strength. So, friends, if this started out as an our hope is that from this conversation that you maybe started out scared or intimidated by strength training, and it is now becoming a hell yeah. Jamie, if our listeners want to find you, please share all the ways that they can get in touch with you.
Visit us on our website at capitalfitness.com. And you can come in and get a free class and check us out and fall in love with us.
Yay.
Friends,
Awesome.
Christina and I would be so grateful if you left us a positive review wherever you're listening to us. Remember, if you're new to us, Christina told you, go to Your Birthday Podcast, sign up for our free newsletter, and there you will get all the links. So it'll be super easy. There's the link. You can leave us a positive review. Hang out with us on social media. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook, and Pinterest. On Mondays, Christina and I take turns. You will get gifts from the couch. Until then, happy birthday.
Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you so much for having me.